Let us all stand and recite our national pledge on this beautiful morning. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. I pledge to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to Guyana, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. Thank you. Honorable Minister Colin Kroll, Minister of Housing and Water. Honorable Minister Susan Rodriguez, Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water. Ms. Denise Tudor, Director of Operations of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, and the person performing duties as the Chief Executive Officer of Central Housing and Planning Authority. Senior management and staff of Central Housing and Planning Authority and the Ministry of Housing and Water, members of the media, and most importantly, you, the beneficiaries of today's activities. Welcome to Dream Realize for Region 10. I want to thank you all for coming out this morning. As you know, you have seen us quite a number of times this year in Region 10. And this is another effort by the Government of Guyana and the Ministry of Housing and Water and Central Housing and Planning Authority to make sure that all those who have applied for house lots, that we are delivering those house lots to you, which is a step in the right direction for progress and for empowerment of each one of you. So at this point in time, I don't want to take up much of your time because you have been here for some time now. I'd like to invite our Honorable Minister Susan Rodriguez to deliver remarks to you. Please join me in welcoming her.
Good morning, everyone. Colleague Minister Kroll, Permanent Secretary, Director of Operations and Acting CEO, Ms. Denise King-Tudor, other directors of the Central Housing and Planning Authority, GWI, Ministry of Housing and Water, regional and local officials, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be here in Linden once again for another Dream Realize house lot allocation. As you know, we're winding down our first term in office, for which we came to government with a very ambitious target in the housing and water sectors. We were able in our first term to surpass the target that we set ourselves of 50,000 house lots. But we are not a government that is about ticking boxes. We're about governing in a real way to bring about real change and real empowerment. So long before we achieved the target, we recognized that demand had increased significantly for housing in all of the regions. More and more people were coming to us on a daily basis. We had lines of people who are making new applications, which is a stark contrast to when we first came in government, when we had a long line or long lines in 2020 and 2021 for people who had pending applications. If you've ever visited the head office in Georgetown, you will see that the Ministry of Housing and Water has the most traffic. So even during COVID, when we didn't have vaccines yet, people were lining up in front of the ministry. The lines were down Brick Dam into Camp Street for people with pending applications. And we were not intimidated by that because we recognize that people have confidence in the government, confidence in the commitments that we made. And so we started the work immediately of delivering our 10,000 house lot distribution on an annual basis to get to our 50,000. So very early this year, we surpassed that 50,000 mark. And we didn't stop because we recognized the need to acquire more land for housing development and making a plan for all of the regions, 1 to 10, on how we will address the backlog of pending applications completely. And that's why the President, during last year, December, gave us a new mandate. It wasn't a 50,000 allocation anymore. It was about zeroing the backlog of pending applicants in all of the regions, except for 4, because Region 4, as you know, is the most populous region, and the work in Region 4 will continue to bring it up to current. And so for all the other 9 regions, the target is to make sure that we bring it to current and that we make lands available for every single person who has applied for a house lot in these regions. So in Region 10, we have already distributed 1,600 house lots in the last 5 years. And today, we will distribute another 1,000 house lots to the Lindeners here today. And that's not the beginning nor the end, because we have in this new housing area, the Wisma housing area, where we already distributed lots in phase 1, and we're distributing lots today in the phase 2 of Wisma. We have made available approximately 2,400 new house lots in this phase 2 area. So today, after we've distributed our 1,000 house lots, I don't want people to panic if they didn't get their house lots today. We have made more land available, and we will be returning because this housing program will not end. I see a lot of people coming to us and rushing to us as though there is a ticking clock. But you have a government that has already promised that there will be continuity in the housing sector, because we have seen the demand. We have heard the requests from all of the regions, from all of the communities to make more lots available. And we believe in ownership. We believe in this housing sector, first of all, because of its ability to empower lives, to empower families, especially women. And by the way, 47% of the 50,000 house lots went to women only. Young women, older women, who are now landowners. And we are very proud of that record. 54% of the allocations that we've made in the last 5 years went to young people between the ages of 21 and 35. And more importantly, 90% of the total allocations went to low to middle income families. And so we have stayed true to the objectives of the housing sector, of the housing program, of empowering people. So that is extremely important to us, and we see the housing sector also as a way to stimulate the economy through spending on public infrastructure, the creation of jobs, and the construction of homes for those who have acquired housing units over the last 5 years. We've introduced a number of initiatives to help people to acquire home ownership. So we've moved beyond the intervention of allocation of land only and introduced a number of initiatives to make construction more affordable. We've worked with the banks to reduce interest rates. You can now borrow at below 5% 4% in some cases. We have raised the mortgage ceiling for low-income interest rates. We've removed VAT from building and construction materials. We've introduced the steel and cement subsidy to help people to start the construction of their homes and helping them to qualify easier for a mortgage at the lending institutions. And of course, we've been building homes at affordable prices also to help people to acquire home ownership very early. And we've been investing in the infrastructure in housing areas so that people can realize the actual value of the house lot that they are receiving. So it costs us about $5 million to install the infrastructure and the utilities for one house lot. That's the actual cost to develop a single house lot. And like I said before, 90% of it went to low to middle income families. So people paying maybe $500,000, $800,000 for a house lot that costs $5 million just to build. And so right away, you are acquiring an asset that is worth more than you paid for it. So when you go to the banks, they can realize the actual value, the market value of your piece of land. And then you can leverage the equity that the bank is willing to lend you on that plot of land to help you to build your own home or to open a business or to buy a car, give you actual collateral, giving you empowerment through ownership. I see a lot of these parties that are popping up all over the place. They like to latch on to the housing sector because nobody criticizes something that's bad, right? Because it's already bad. But when something is good, when something is working, when something is showing results, that's when people tend to attack it. And that's what they've been doing with the housing sector. It has a lot of attention because of the successes of this housing program in the last 5 years. So some people saying to you, we'll give you a free house lot. You will pay for the infrastructure. Think about that for a moment. I just explained how much it actually costs to produce a single house lot. And you are paying a subsidized cost of about 15%. And they're saying you get the land free, but you pay for the infrastructure. So the first one sounds good, but then you got a backlash because the infrastructure is more expensive, obviously, than the cost that you're paying for the land. So you'll hear in the next couple of months before elections a lot of sound bites, but you have to assess for yourselves as to who really has a plan that delivers, a plan that makes sense. And so I know that all of us are capable of drowning out the noise and realizing the success of not only the housing program, but all of the sectors in the government at large. And we will continue, like I said, there's continuity in our program. The Ministry of Housing and Water is not going anywhere. We will be there after the 1st of September to continue the housing program because we believe that people will re-elect us based on our program and based on our ability to deliver real empowerment to the people of our country. So we make no apologies for that because we've been working, we've stayed true to our commitments, and we've been providing real, tangible results. And we've taken this program all across the country. There's no favoritism. There is no region that has benefited disproportionately to other regions. We've been present in all of the regions, including in hinterland communities, where in some cases there was no structured housing program like we have now. We've even taken it to our hinterland communities and building homes in hinterland communities through this housing program and giving people an opportunity to own a piece of land So there is equity in the system. We see the visible reduction in the people who have pending applications. And so many times when I go into communities now and people say that they have a pending application, it's just pending a year or 2 years. So we've been able to move significantly the timeline that it takes between application and allocation. And that's a record that we are proud of, that we've been able to move that in the last 5 years, which says to us that the 50,000 allocation has been impactful. And so more and more people are coming to us because they have confidence that we will deliver for them, that they will get their house lots within a short space of time, especially our young people. As soon as young people become 21 years old now, the first thing they're doing is putting in their application. As a matter of fact, I'm meeting sometimes with a bunch of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, and they want to come and apply. And I have to say to them, hold on, your turn will come. But that's because people see something that's working. And it gives them hope, and it motivates them to save, it motivates them to get a job, and they say to us, we want to come and pay something because we want to acquire this early, giving our young people a longer chance in life, giving them the early opportunity to acquire an asset, and then giving them a longer time in life to acquire more assets and to grow their net worth. So this housing area, I can assure you, is fully equipped and sustainable. Like I mentioned, it has the capacity of over 2,400 lots. That includes low, moderate, middle, and high-income residential lots. It has reserve areas for nursery school, a primary school, a cemetery. It has zones for industrial and commercial lands for people to apply to acquire an industrial or commercial plot, to open a business, and fully sustainable, like I mentioned. So this is an area that once the infrastructure work is completed, you'll be very proud of. You will be living in a community that is equipped with all the necessary infrastructure, and you will have access to government services and other economic services within your community that will make it wholesome, sustainable, and a place that you will be proud to live in. So we are happy to be your servants in this sector and to be able to deliver this on behalf of the government of Guyana and for the people of region number 10. I'd like to congratulate all of you. I know some of you have been waiting a long time. We had a difficult task in acquiring land in this region because you know a lot of the land here is under the ownership of Guyana Lands and Survey Commission. So we've had a difficult task in identifying land that we can purchase from GLSC or acquire from GLSC, and land that is fit for housing development. And so we've identified some areas now that can adequately address the backlog here in Region 10. And we did commit to the people of this region that we will be able to address every single pending application. So I want to congratulate you. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the confidence that you've shown in us. And I wish you and your families all the best as you start this new journey of home ownership here today. So congratulations. God bless you. Thank you.
Put your hands again for Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, from day one, this ministry, the government and Central Housing and Planning Authority has been working. There is a mandate for us to fulfill. And if you were to take a flight above and see the scale of the development in this country, you would be amazed with the housing sector all across this country, every single region. And as was mentioned, we're continuing to work so that we can make sure that everyone who has applied will get through. Also, it was noted that the development of these lands and the costs you're paying, they're highly subsidized. So this is something that you will cherish, that you will pass on to your children, and it's something to be very proud of, the accomplishment that you're going to be making here today. Without any further delay, I'd like to now ask you to join me in welcoming Honorable Minister Colin Kroll to address you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our Permanent Secretary, Mr. Bisram Kupen. Recognition to Minister Susan Rodriguez. And the other person to complete the head table is Denise Tudor, Director of Operations and performing the responsibility of CEO for Central Housing and Planning Authority. I want to recognize the other staff of the Ministry and Central Housing and Planning Authority who are on duty here today in their dark blue outfit. Members of the media, representatives from the bank, insurance companies, Guyana Water Inc. Staff, but more importantly, you 1,000 here from Region 10 that are about to be allotted in the new housing development at Phase 2, WISMA, here in Region number 10. I want to say congratulations to all of you, and the pleasure is ours to join you today in the continuation of our fulfillment of our mandate. And note, I didn't say completion. And the continuation of our mandate, and that is to ensure that across the length and breadth of our country and in every region, no matter where you are, for those of you who are pending applicants in the Ministry of Housing and Water to be addressed in keeping with our housing policy. Region 10, in these short years, and they're short years indeed, I'm sitting at the table and I'm trying to remember the last time we came and what we have achieved over these couple of years, and time has really flew by. And we have had our anxieties here, if not here, over the other side where we had our allocation exercise. But we have had our anxieties. We've had persons coming, saying, oh, you're waiting a while, you haven't gotten through. When will you be served? We've committed that we will serve all those pending applicants. But we had to start from somewhere. And it's very important that we understand and remember how we have started, how much of the process we have moved, and how we are committing to ensure that this mandate, that which every PPPC government has ensured, that ownership and access to housing is a priority. And therefore, I can say here, it will continue whether you have elections or not. Once a PPPC is in government, what you have happening here will continue to happen. Until last year, when we ended last year, despite us having allocation exercises be done here in Region 10, we ended last year about 4,000 plus pending applicants. And as a result of what we've been able to achieve to date, which will mean the Amelia's Ward Phase 4, as well as for the WISMA Phase 1, for what we've been able to achieve, we're talking about over 1,800 lots allocated in Region 10. Coming from a background, and that was done in under 4 years, coming from a background where prior to 5 years, prior to 2020 for 5 years, all you had was 435 allocations. So as a result of the success stories that people are seeing, we had new persons coming into the system that are applying. And at the same time, we took over a position of a huge pending backlog as a result of not being addressed. Until today, when we can commit and announce to you that we are intend to address 1,000 of you, that means we're starting today with a pending applicants about 2,553. And you just heard the entire area for phase 2 caters for 2,000 plus. It therefore means that as committed by His Excellency and as announced, that all these regions, the pending applicants, will be able to be cleared in this current year of 2025 for all pending applicants for December 31st, 2024 and prior. The reality, however, is that ideally, if I ask half of you here, you will say to me, you have a preference for Amelia's ward from Wismop. Half of you here may say you want Amelia's ward. I'm sure. But the reality is, we have to work where land becomes available. And all of these, and as just outlined by Minister Rodriguez, all of these housing development, the plan to ensure that we make your area accessible, to ensure that you have a community, not just seeing lands, the work has already started. So for your phase 2, the tender process for the infrastructure work is ongoing. And as early as next Tuesday, if it's the 8th, the tenders will be open at NPTAB for the infrastructure work for the phase 2. The phase 1, as you may recall, for those who are listening and for those who are Region 10, the work on phase 1 has already started. So for here in Region 10, for example, we have ensured that prior to today, whether it's the Kwakwani new development, so there are 3 areas, I said to you 2, but there are 3. So you have the Kwakwani area, the new Kwakwani housing scheme, for which yesterday we had the area showing for persons who have been allotted there. Similarly, for the Amelia's Ward Phase 1, the work for the infrastructure has already started. So for example, Kwakwani, the infrastructure work to ensure those persons can be able to access their land will be completed in November. So they will be accessing their land by the end of this year. And the Amelia's Ward Phase 1 is no exception for those who have been allotted there. For you in Phase 2, however, now that we're doing the infrastructure work and you recognize it's a new area, we may flow into the very early of 2026. The reality, however, is that every person who has been allocated for every one of those new housing development, and in 5 years, just under 5 years, we have developed or we have opened up or completed 95 new housing development. And I don't say those numbers for us to idly gloss over, because on your Phase 1, for example, your Phase 1, the infrastructure work for there, Phase 1 alone, we're talking about $1.9+ billion. And this here, this is actually, thank you very much. So this is the Phase 1 area. And this afternoon at 3:30, we will have the area showing for this very Phase 1. This is something we are doing and we have introduced because, why? When you're allocated, like today, you receive your allocation letter. And I just want you to listen to me carefully so we don't have anxieties after today. You receive your allocation letter, and what happens is that we start infrastructure work, etc. And not until we're complete, you're able to see your land. So in that period of time, you're calling the ministry, you're calling the region, if you have access to the ministers, when we're outreaches, you're asking, when can I see my land? So we have eliminated that anxiety. So we want you to also have an appreciation of what it entails for the infrastructure work. So when we say when minister said to you, your cost of your land is heavily subsidized, and you will say, well, you're paying 800,000 and you think it's exorbitant. That's minimal, because the cost for your land, and that's if you look at the outline just outside the boundaries of where the plan is, you'll see what the exact area looks like. Because that's what we took over, and that's what we cleared, and you have to put the roads, you have to put the drainage, and if it's sandy area, we have to put concrete drains, because you know what happens with the slippage, etc. That's the magnitude of work that is for the phase 1. And similarly for the phase 2, you will have another showing on the completion of this exercise. So we want you to also have an appreciation of what is happening, because sometimes we come to these activities. Yes, you must say, Minister, you're talking too long, I want to get over the process. And so it glances over our head because you see a picture of somebody putting their hand in an envelope, they're collecting that lot number, and we say, oh, that's very easy, they just probably cut in chips, put in an envelope, and you allocate. That's putting it extremely mildly, the amount of work that goes into ensuring that you have access. And we are not going to do like the last government. We are providing lands for you to be able to for us to do the infrastructure, for you to access your land. That's the difference. And that's the that's the fundamental difference, because to date, for these 95 areas, we're talking about an investment of a minimum of $250 billion. Region 10 alone, Region 10, on the housing sector, we have spent prior to today, so up to the phase 1 award, we are spending $5.9 billion, close to $6 billion. On the Kokwani, for example, that's another $1.5 billion. So when we call these figures and we ask ourselves, you're earning more as a country. And as mentioned, you have parties that are now coming to say, yes, if they can get an opportunity to go in office, all the lands must be free. And everybody is entitled to have a land because we are Guyana and we have a lot of land space. But it costs money. And when you ask where our resources are going to as we're earning more, this is what it's going to. It's allowing us to do more today, not tomorrow. Because historically, when you get your land, the infrastructure work doesn't start until the next year, because the budgetary requests from the next year, we used what is allocated the previous year to calculate how much we have to budget for. And then the infrastructure work commences sometime later that year. So it goes a minimum of 2 years wait. You don't have that. You won't have that anymore, because this PBPC government, as committed under President Ali, has ensured that simultaneously as we are awarding, we are commencing the infrastructure work, or in some cases have commenced prior, so that by the time, by within 6 to 8 months, when the infrastructure work is complete, you will have access to your land. That's the fundamental difference. And so it's very easy as politicians to come to your communities, to come to your region. Here too, we got a lot of them making noise. To say, yes, everything is free, everything should be free. You deserve the best. We know you deserve the best. And because we are able to do more, we will do more. And that is why the cost for the lands, Ms. Dennis Tudor has the responsibility to do that costing based on the information, will not and has not increased. We have maintained that cost that we had We, and for the low income, you hear a lot of noise because, you know, I didn't come for call names today, but I got a call name today. Annette is asking me in Parliament about 800,000, about high income being about middle income being $3 million. That's in Region 4. Region 4, for example, we don't have no middle income that's $3 million. That has to be high income. We have been able to say that for all the regions, we will clear your backlog because of the amount of pending applicants. Region 4 has 48,000 pending applicants. That's a lot of pending applicants because more persons are coming in the system. So when people post on social media, you know, we're frontal in dealing with issues. When somebody will hear us make the statement to say, except Region 4, it's not that Region 4 is least important, because what they didn't say, what they're not saying, is that Region 4 to date, you have had 1,800 plus allocations, right? Region 4 in 4 years has had just under about 28,000 plus allocations in 4.5 years. You understand the difference now? So if you have 40-something thousand, obviously to find the land for all of those persons will take time. But we're committed for all the regions. And your cost, going back to the cost of your land, you have low income today that is as low as $226,000. So all the noise that you hear, we will ensure, one thing you can guarantee us to do is that we will ensure that as our country do more, so will it be passed on to you, the beneficiaries, and the people of Guyana. And the housing sector is no exception, because when we say that we will have 10,000 plus, 10,000 allocations, 10,000 house lots annually, that's sort of exact words in our manifesto. You didn't hear Minister Rodriguez say anything about manifesto. We don't talk about that anymore because we have surpassed our manifesto commitment. What we're committed to do is ensuring that as quickly as possible, as we get more resources, to do more. That is what we're committed to. So, for example, today, here as we are starting this exercise, we are starting with a total allocation in terms of residential of 50,295 allottees. Today, we're starting that. Over the 50,000, as Minister said. And this does not take into consideration, because under housing, we have residential lots. It does not take into consideration what Guyana Lands and Survey Commission has been doing. So in addition for agricultural land, and for other land use purpose, because we're competing with sectors too. We're competing with other sectors that require land for commercial enterprise, for tourism, etc. So when lands become available, it is also not idly provided. A lot of factors go into consideration. So for example, on the Lands and Survey Commission, in 4 years prior to this year, residential-wise, they have allocated 2,458 residential lots. So if you were to take into consideration from governmentally, whether lands and survey, housing, we are talking about over 52,700 plus to date. And we are continuing, as Minister Rodriguez said. So we have to also, I therefore want to say to you, is that we have to be careful of a lot of people who will come and make noise. But sometimes it's very easy to forget. It's very easy to forget some of those very people who were in office and had ministers, but had ministers that came from your region, and had ministers who had responsibility for housing. You notice a responsibility because the Ministry of Housing was collapsed. So there was no Ministry of Housing. That's how important housing was. They collapsed the Ministry of Housing under the communities. So you had a minister who had responsibility for housing, who for Region 10. And they didn't do what was committed to the people. So it's very important to remember some of these people, persons who will be coming and making a lot of noise. But you must ask them how it will be done. Our country in other sectors will continue to provide the level of service and resources so that our people can benefit, and you will continue to see initiatives that are geared towards helping you. So for example, when we say the banks who are here have been able to bring down their mortgage lending rate, it's not by accident, because the value for what you used to borrow for $6 million on the low income, the lending rate was reduced by a minimum 3% from 6 point something on average, some cases 6, to 3 and 3 point something on average, by 3%. That's what your low mortgage and interest rate has reduced by, which allows you, by the way, as young persons, as persons who are coming up in the sector, who are now get a job, whatever, allows you to borrow more, allows you to build a bigger house than you may have not have envisaged. That is what the difference we do. And of course, the steel and cement subsidy program that we have introduced will continue. Here in Region 10, for example, we have through this initiative under the steel and cement program, we have disbursed over $48.5 million, 194 vouchers. Today, you have eligible another 42 persons who will be receiving the voucher, the subsidy program for the steel and cement. We're talking about another $9.5 million subsidy to help persons to start their construction. You'll know different. When your land is accessible, you are able to apply for the similar initiative. On that program alone, across the country, on the steel and cement program, we're talking about over $500 million disbursed on this initiative to help persons to start their construction. I want to quickly, I know you're waiting a while, I want to quickly give you another update because I've been asked to. Now, allocations of land is one aspect, what we do. In Region 10, ownership of land is another important aspect, and an outstanding one too. And so you have the lands, many of the lands that are here, that are under the purview of NISIL. And so NISIL has been working with housing for those areas. I'm talking here now about regularization. So we have a number of areas that we are regularizing to ensure to move towards ownership so that persons can have their certificate of title or transport depending on the type of land. So for example, here in Region 10, we have about 10 areas that we are committed to in this current year. We're talking about over 600 lots that to be regularized. This means these are persons who will eventually have ownership for where they're living. And that's an important aspect too, the security of tenure, to ensure that when you have that document, it signals your future, it signals you have attained, you have achieved and attained, and similarly, it secures for the next generation, for your children, their security of tenure. So when we talk about generation wealth, and people make laugh off of the term of generation wealth, you know, there's a lot of people who, they can't come on the open and speak, and they can't debate. They can go behind a keyboard and type all day. So when we talk about generation wealth, we mean it. It's not idle gaff. This is basically now for you, where you and your children, you'll be able to live comfortable. You don't got a problem of worrying to find place to rent. You don't have to worry about what time you got to get in because your landlord set some condition, and then you have some conditions, say if you got children, worse yet, right? And it hasn't been helping the population count. So under NISIL, for example, what they've indicated to us, they have a number of areas that they're working on. And so, for example, you have Plantation, Nykedak, Plantation Retrieve, Plantation Richmond Hill, Plantation Fairs Ross, Plantation Surupana. I hope I'm pronouncing right. NISIL, they have 148 agreements of sale that they are processing that signals for you to go onwards to have ownership. So for example, you have about 10 of those, and this is on the NISIL. We have 10 of those that are for deeds registry, another 7 plus that is still at NISIL, another 13 that persons have to sign. They have another 47 that we're vesting, meaning transferring the land ownership. And then you have another 62 that are currently being regularized. So today, for example, on signaling and ownership in terms of land title, we have available a total of 97 titles to be distributed, and those persons were informed. And we will continue to do the process so that persons can be able to have ownership. For example, the phase 2 where you are being allocated, we have already started the process for transfer of ownership in terms of the block title, and that allows us to do the other stages. So by the time we get for you to be able to access your land, we will be able to sign your agreement of sale. Now, a bit of other information for those who have been allocated already, and this is especially for Amelia's Ward Phase 4 and those within Amelia's Ward. And for those who will be able to access in the WISMA Phase 1 when the time comes. When you are shown your lot, please ensure you put your signpost, and please ensure you occupy or ensure that you do some policing on your lot. Once we hand that over to you, you have that responsibility to ensure that no one encroaches further. We've had a lot of challenges here in Region 10, and that is why, and some outstanding matters still, where persons have illegally occupied other people's land, and what you're doing, you're depriving someone from starting their own dreams, someone to starting their own family environment, their new family environment. And we haven't been saying it to each other, but it's a reality. So when you see us break and you hear us say, you hear the statement, we're inhumane and we're everything under the sun, there's a process. All of you here today went through a process. All of you for the last few years can say, oh, PPP commit 50,000, when am I going to get my land? Well, that ends today. But there's a process in which you apply for land and you go through, but not in the right way. It's not for us to see a piece of land and then occupy it and then claim ownership, and you have the hassle now to move persons. And when you move persons, you hear you are inhumane. We have to have the right and wrong way. We are ensuring that we work every day and night to make things better for you. We will work every day and night to bring betterment for all our people, including you here in Region 10. And it doesn't matter the context in which people would have voted. When you voted for a government, when a government is sworn in, it's sworn in to ensure that we provide the guidance and leadership for all of its population. And that is what you have here under the PVPC government in Region 10. So I want to thank you very much for coming out here this afternoon, this morning here, and throughout the rest of the afternoon. The staff now will work with all of you. All of you who have gone through your vetting will be served, and so they work continuously. And we want to ensure that the process moves quickly. And if you note, it's not the whole area that is being allocated today. So don't have, for those who are listening and who are not going to get through today, don't have no anxieties and come try to give Ms. Drakes, the housing office, the region housing manager, a lot of problems. We'll list those and we'll have follow-up allocations, right? Because this will continue. The PPPC government is ensuring that continuously we will work to improve everyone and provide a service for all of its people. So to the banks, please maximize the presence of the banks here. Get as much information as you can so that when your turn comes, you will information that you will need to have. What is some information you need to get up or to provide when your turn comes to be able to acquire a mortgage for you to construct. And have a God bless day. Region number 10, as you are together with us, will continue to transform and move our country forward. Have a God bless day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Colin Kroll. You know, as responsible citizens and as you are, it is important to understand that this exercise not only for your allocation, but a background of the activities of the ministry and the government of Guyana. And Minister did outline the work that we are doing, and it's all across Guyana and for everyone, regardless of whatever situation you're in, we're here to empower Guyanese. So with that being said, I'd like to now take the opportunity to call on the Regional Housing Officer.
Good morning, all. All protocol observed. The process entails today your selection of lot. So, as you hear your name, you will come forward, you select your lot number. You will proceed to where they will record your allocation. Then you will go to the desk to have your payment voucher. Proceed to the accounts department, which is situated the small conference room behind the hall. Then you will come back, photocopy your receipts, and sit and wait on your name to be called to have your offer letter issued to you. Okay, so I will now invite Ms. Denise King to the So as you hear your name called, you will just come forward to do your selection. Miss Chanel Brown. Lot 1959, Wismar, Phase 2. Mr. Kelvin Spencer. Lot 581, Wismar, Phase 2. Miss Susan Featherstone. Lot 485, Wismar, Phase 2. I now invite PS to do the honors. Miss Trisha Richmond or Taisha? Taisha. Lot 252, Wismar, Phase 2. Miss Deonka Nelson. Jonah. Mr. Devon Venture. Mr. Devon Venture. Now here? Okay. lot 296, where's my phase 2? That's it for now. Thank you, PS. We now invite the Honorable Minister Susan Rodriguez. Ms. Shanice Lorimer. Ms. Shanice Lorimer. Lot 596, where's my phase 2? Ms. Delika Pigot. Ms. Delika Pigot. Sugar baby. After Ms. Pigot is Ms. Tanisha Gilgias. Lot 595, where's my phase 2? And Miss Wendy Bowen. Lot 444, where's my phase 2? And Miss Lavana Semple. Come. Lot 674, where's my phase 2? Thank you, Minister Rodriguez. Lot 673, where's my phase 2? Now invite the Honorable Minister, Minister Kroll. Ms. Shanta Dugan. Ms. Shanta Dugan here. Ms. Sabrina Skit. It's 1921, where's my phase 2? Ms. Skit is here. In the meanwhile, Ms. Fatima Rahim. Lot 1972, where's my phase 2? It's Leah Lacan. 1973, where's my phase 2? Miss Leah Lacan. And Ms. Sonia Mohammed can come too. Nice, Sonia. It's lot 1945. Where's my phase 2? Ms. Lacan, your number is 1916. Where's my phase 2? Thank you, everyone. Yes, Minister, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Now, while the officer would have explained the basic process for today and you were previewed to a demonstration of what the allocation process is like, to move the process along, what we do is group you guys. So persons who are qualified for low-income lots, moderate income lots, and so on, we group you just to move the process faster along. Because if we have to keep shifting it, it's a little bit more time-consuming. So if you hear a name calling, you know, that person may have come after you. It's not because we're putting persons in front of you. We have 2 officers that will be doing the allocation, so that's why the names will be called like that, right? The process will move fast, so no need to worry. If somebody's name is called, it may be somebody who has a number, maybe 1 or 2 after you. All right. In addition to that, we have present today staff from GWI, various banking institutions, and so on. Now, in the meantime that you're waiting for your name to call, if you know you have one of the higher numbers, you're free to engage those officers. They'll be able to guide you through their processes and whatever it is that they offer. Now, if you have persons for allocations will be guided upstairs in the building. The guys in the blue shirts, these are the enforcement and the internal security officers. They will be giving you that guidance. If for some reason you know you have a number, you know that we may have dealt with that number, you did not hear your name, please engage one of the officers so they can do a follow-up to see what is going on with your matter. Any other queries, we have the other officers and they'll guide you accordingly, all right?
All right, so you've heard the instructions and how we're going to go today. So I want to wish you all the best. Congratulations again. Please be a little bit patient. The staff will deal with you. We're here to help. Of course, any questions you have, you can go up as was indicated. You can ask the security personnel around here. Additionally, as Minister had stated, the banks are here, the insurance companies, and you may want to get some advance information on what is required to get a mortgage or insurance for your premises. And of course, we have our sister agency here, Guyana Water Incorporated. So congrats again. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all. Thank you.